Hello, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Awesome. My name is Rafael Mendiola. I am a React Native consultant here in Boston. I've been working with React Native for about 3 years. And I've been helping a lot of startups build their applications. I'm really happy to be able to talk here at React Boston because React Boston is like the best developer community ever, right? Um, Today's talk is about enforcing design systems with ESLint. And once upon a time, there was Shippi, the app. Shippi is our product. He's our MVP. He's our baby. Shippi's job is to be shipped. Um, and really his job is to make our customers happy, right? Our job is to raise Shippi into a minimum lovable product. And so in order to get there, we make lots and lots of iterations. We'll change the branding of a company, and then we might not be happy with that branding, so we'll change it again. And that one, this is not great, so we'll just change it again. And then, we'll do something like, add a big button, and we'll say, Shippi, get out there. You have a button now. Like, go make our customers happy. And that's pretty simple, right? But what actually happens is that the button might not perform, so we have to change the button. And we give it a different button. And because we're going really, really fast, we forgot to take out the other button from the codebase. And we also forgot to remove some of the older branding from the product. And it's still not performing well, so we try to add another button. And the app just starts becoming more and more disorganized and incoherent. So ultimately, Shippi ends up like this. Oh no, what happened, Shippi? We screwed up. We iterated too fast, too quickly. Like, we messed up. I wish we hadn't done that. What I want to talk about is about disciplining your code base early. I come to design systems from kind of like the startup background, not necessarily the big company background. And this is a situation that I see all the time. I've helped many startups build their products, and it ultimately becomes like this. Every company just goes fast, 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 fast. We don't have time to be disciplined. We just got to ship. And ultimately, the product becomes like really incoherent, and the code base just becomes really hard to work with. And then product finally says, oh, okay, it's time to finally pay that technical debt. But it's not technical debt. It's not something that you pay. It's just like a technical liability. And it's a product liability. It's making your product not perform well. And so a lot of companies just leave design systems until they're more mature, until they're bigger, until they have more engineers, until they have more bandwidth. But ironically, a disciplined design system can help you the most at the beginning because it will prevent Shippi from getting into that state that we saw. And so you can't just wait to start a design system once the problems arise. Like, just try to be proactive, right? But startups just don't have that many people to enforce a design system. When we hear about big companies enforcing a design system, they usually have big teams, and there's usually cultural buy-in. And like in a startup, there's just not that many people to actually do that. So what can we do? Well, we can use ESLint to help us. We can start developing tools that help us be disciplined about our design system. And we use ESLint to set our coding standards, right? A lot of people here use maybe Airbnb ESLint config and all sorts of plugins to make sure that your code is correct, right? But what if we can use ESLint to set product standards? What if we can use ESLint to make sure that our product is correct? I think that's a viable thing. All we have to do is implement our own ESLint plugin, right? You can go back to your engineer team and say, it's time for us to have our ESLint plugin. How do you do that? Well, there's this, really nice blog post from Flexport about writing custom lint rules for your picky developers. It shows you how to build your own ESLint plugin. And going down this path early can help you identify what are the things in your code base that you don't want to happen in the future. And it actually takes a little bit of time to do. I'm going to take a little detour and show you what it takes to write an ESLint plugin, just the cool part. There's this tool called AST Explorer. You can go to astexplorer.net, and you can type in some JavaScript code in there. And anywhere you click, it will show you where you are in the AST tree. I don't remember what AST stands for. Does anybody remember? Yeah, abstract syntax tree. And for a long time, that was like the kind of thing that's just for nerds, right? Like, I don't have time to deal with ASTs, but it's actually really cool. Like, it's actually so cool that you can just click on view here and tell you, what you're looking at, from the language perspective. You're looking at an import specifier, and you're looking at an identifier inside the import specifier, and you're getting all this sort of, nice information, nice metadata about your code. And you can use AST Explorer to actually write an ESLint rule. It takes a little while, some experimentation. But here I'm writing a rule that can let me say that using the text component from the React Native module is forbidden. And as you can see right here, my rule outputs that that there's an ESLint error here. And so the way that it works is that you have a function that returns an object called import declaration, because we are checking for the import declarations here. And once we have the import declaration function, we take in the node, and the node is the stuff that we see here. And now that we know that we're getting a node that's structured this way, it's just an object that follows the structure. We can just go in and write some code and check if the value of this identifier is in my list of bad imports up here. And you write code and more code and more code, and ultimately you return like an error message. So that's how you write an ESLint plugin. So now you guys are ready to go back and write one with your development teams. I hope you've learned something. Thank you very much. Oh, wait, 1 second, sorry. So write my own ESLint plugin. What? I ain't got no time for that. Like, no presentation is complete without memes, right? So in order to save you time, I actually wrote you a plugin. And it's called ESLint Plugin Design System. This is the first thing that I've ever pushed out to NPM, which was like an interesting adventure. But I really wanted to solve this problem that I've seen across many companies, like the problem of like the design keeps changing. We need to be able to like remove those vestigial components and vestigial colors and all that stuff. So what I want to do is like start a plugin that's a collection of rules that are useful for enforcing a design system. And I think I can show you how it works right now. So let's exit out here. This is the app that I made for this demo. It's not really that interesting, but this is a React Native project, but it's going to work on any React code base. And you can see that Shippi probably has some like off-brand colors, and it has a button that's that has I don't know, like that might be old, and a button that's definitely old. So let's take a look at the code here. Oops. So if I do yarn lint, um, which runs ESLint, it's going to check for the correctness of my code, and even though I have like some like plugins already installed, my code is pretty correct, so it's not going to warn me about anything. But you might be able to see here, and I'll make this a little bit bigger actually so people can see. I added the design system plugin here in my ESLint configuration. So let's take a look at a couple of rules that I added. The first one is no custom colors. So when you're iterating very, very quickly, you have a set of colors that's in your palette that your designer told you, like these are the colors that we're going to use. But then there's a lot of things that can happen, like developers can get lazy, or like developers can change the design and not update the design system. And so you kind of end up with a lot of colors, like over the span of a year, you just like end up with a lot of like different color constants. And as a matter of fact, like you could even end up with some like pretty hard-coded colors here. So what we're gonna do right now is enable the no custom colors rule in our ESLint config. And we are going to run yarn lint. And now we get errors. We actually get warnings because I set them up as warnings. If I want them to be errors, I think I can just do 2 here. I'm going off demo right now. Yeah, so now you get errors. So you can introduce these rules as warnings. Like, hey, warning, you are not using an approved color for this app. This should show up in your editor. I'm using Vim, but this should work on VS Code and anything that supports integration with ESLint. So let's take a look at what my Vim does. And yeah, it appropriately gives me an error in my editor. And at the bottom, it says, no custom colors, please use system design colors. The other one, which solves a big problem that I had, is this rule called use design system components. So you remember from like when I was showing you the AST Explorer that one of the things that I was looking for is do not use the React native text component. In a design system, you might actually have typography set up. And so you might have an actual component called typography, or header or paragraph text that actually uses your fonts and the right colors, et cetera. And if you're using the text component from React Native, you're probably not sticking to the design system. So let's take a look at what happens now when I run ESLint. Now I get some errors saying text from React Native is forbidden. Please use the design system. And I also get another one that says old button from components, old button is forbidden. So that is something that's really useful as well, because as your design system changes over time, you'll have components that you're not using anymore. So this rule, this use design system components rule, can actually help you deprecate some of your old design system components. And let's take a look at what Vim does here. Yeah, so in my import, I get warnings because right now I have this set up as a warning. And I get an error in my editor that says, text from React Native is forbidden. Please use the design system. And I also get one with old button. Old button is forbidden. Please use the design system. So this should probably save a lot of time in kind of like the bureaucracy of an organization, in that nobody, like if you pass ESLint test, then nobody needs to check that you're actually using the design system. And so how do you configure this? How do I say that I want text not to be used? In your ESLint configuration, you can add a settings section, and you can configure the design system plugin. And you can add a forbidden object in here and a list of forbidden things that you're not supposed to use. So in this case, from the module React Native, I do not want to use text. And then from my module, like components old button, I do not want to be able to import old button. I added this flag is relative because what I really want to do as this tool iterates is I want to be able to put in globs. So hopefully in the future you'll be able to put in a glob and it should match imports, and you should be able to have this rule work whenever. Yeah, so that's how it works. I hope it's useful. Let's go back to the presentation. And so to conclude, we want to take Shippi from a minimum value product to a minimum lovable product. And to that, we need to iterate a lot. And in order to help us iterate quicker, we don't need to wait until we're big to implement the design system. We can do it when we're small. If you discipline your code base early, that's when it can do the most help. That's when disciplining can do the most help. And it also ensures that Shippi grows up happy and healthy. You can see like the little hearts, that our customers love Shippi. You can create an ESLint plugin for your organization. Check out ASTs; they're really fun. But if you don't want to do that, you can use the plugin that I made called ESLint Plugin Design System. And I would love to put the challenge out to you. Like, what are other things, like product things, not code-based things, not code correctness things, but product correctness that we can solve with ESLint? Maybe you can help me with this plugin. Anyway, that's it. I hope you find it useful. Thank you.